Hey, we're live. We're back. I am happy to be here. Happy Friday. I just got a really cool... I'm picking up where I left off on Wednesday because I felt like I didn't get it all in. I realized after the fact that I still had some more notes. So, and probably the most important part. So, look, I'm not infallible, right? So these are 3 strategies for transitioning to going all in. So you got an idea, you got a business you want to spin up, and I'm not here to tell you what business and that you should or shouldn't niche. You should niche. But really what I'm here to talk about today is building a support system, continuous learning, and financial preparedness. And kind of the way to think about it, at least the way I thought about it, and what I did in each instance. So I thought this would be really cool to talk about. It's critical to have a really great support system around you. It could be mentors, it could be peers, it could be family, friends. It needs to be people who understand and support your entrepreneurial journey, however. Because here's the thing. Your problems, what challenges you, what upsets you, what frustrates you, what freaks you out, the hard parts, the hard bits of doing this are going to be very different than what they were back when you had a jobby job, a 9-to-5. And the people, your former colleagues and coworkers and your old boss, they don't own the company. You do own a company when you do this. So the things that are hard for you are very different than the things that are hard for them. So what I did at launch was find 3 people. It could be 5, it could be 2 if you have a lot of confidence in them. Find a few people. This is the point. And these people have to have gone out on their own. They have to have something, a consultancy, a company they started, whatever it is. They have to have done what you're looking to do. And what I did was find 3 of them and buy them lunch and pick their brains and ask them to be an advisor. And a couple people said yes, and a couple people were like, sure, as long as it's only in these narrow topic areas. They didn't want to be a broad advisor for how to. And I totally get it. Only comfortable asking them to do something they're already comfortable doing. So that's totally fine. I told everyone around me it was very stressful. And I even told my dog, like, look, I'm going to be inconsistent. I'm going to have big feelings once in a while. And this is going to be hard, I think. I've never done it before. And I'm like super scared. Dog didn't mind all that much. But the point being, having that support system around you, you don't have to have a board of directors. Maybe it depends what business you're starting. But if it's a consultancy or any kind of coaching program, or you're going out to do a small service-based business that's, freelance plus, I don't know that you need a board of directors. If you want one, get one. It's fine. But really, having a few people that you can ask questions of when things get hard or you're confused or something's broken, just see how they worked through it. Like, a couple of advisors is tremendous as a resource for me, and it would be hard to imagine it's not going to be tremendous for you. The next one would be continuous learning. And at first, I thought this one felt weird in here, but the more I thought about it, this might actually be the most important one. So the last video, I talked a lot about the mindset shift on Wednesday, and that is critically important. And learning isn't really just about content or knowledge specifically. It's about adaptability and a system and finding a way to continue upscaling myself and evolving, because the landscape of self-employment, small business ownership, it's always moving. The market we serve is always moving. who we serve, what's important to them. That's always changing. The products and services that we create and offer are always changing. The brand is always evolving. Everything's a moving target. So having a system, a way of knowing how I learn and where I can get the information I need to continue on this growth trajectory took a little while. It took a little while because here's the harsh reality. And here's what I realized about 6 months to a year in, and I'm in year 5, is you're on your own now. You used to be able to, if you had questions on how to execute on something, maybe how to adapt a process, you could just ask a peer in the office, go into your boss's office or call your boss and be like, what are your thoughts on this? And they will normally be very, very helpful because they like you and they want you to be successful and they want to be successful. Here's the rub. It's lonely at the top. You own the company. I own my company. There's nobody to help. The advisors I mentioned in the last little spot here, yeah, that is, but you want to be careful about how much you ping them. I am very careful about how much I ping them, and I don't want them to ever feel like they're actually running the business. So I actually don't reach out to my advisors very much anymore. Rare occasions, I'll just ping them and say, how about a coffee? Even if it's on a video call, we could do a virtual coffee or a whiskey or something. And it's nice to stay in touch, yeah, because I like them. But it's also nice to say, I'm struggling here with the thing. And it could just be struggling with consistency and mindset. It could be struggling with an actual task or an actual execution. It could be struggling with interpersonal things with a particular type of person that is in your client roster now that you're struggling to communicate with. That type of thing happens all the time, and it's okay. Lastly, I'll say community. Community helps a ton. And being an extrovert, I find community is tremendously helpful to me, though I think it's helpful to most of the people that participate and collaborate with others in that way. Community is a great way to get or give energy. It's a great way to connect with other people. I'm in communities of people who do what I do, and I'm in communities of people who run a business and don't do what I do. And both of them give me something different. And they are both nonstop, continuous floods of information. I'm learning constantly from all of them. I especially value learning from people who have been doing this a lot longer than I have. And it's interesting. You don't even have to ask them questions sometimes. You just need to engage with them. And what I have found is a lot of times you learn about the things in a way that's passive or indirect because it's what they don't say. It's what's not stressing them out. It's what they don't freak out about. It's what they take for granted that feeds. I'm like, okay. So yeah, it's good to ask direct questions like, how have you worked through so-and-so, or such and such, but really just engaging in conversation, asking questions just to learn more about them personally and then more about their business. There's a lot being said oftentimes that isn't coming out as words. And I find that to be an incredible resource. The third and final one of my three, what did I call them? The 3 strategies for transitioning, going all in, is financial preparedness. Duh. It's good to have some grip going in, but we're not always all in that space. And sometimes we don't get a choice. Like if you've just been canned, you're struggling to find new work. You're like freaking out. I need to get some income here. I'm going to do some freelance work, start a side hustle, do what I got to do to make ends meet. That's great. It's really hard. It's hard to do without some amount of runway. I was super fortunate in that I had been laid off. I had 6 months of runway of salary, and I realized that is a very privileged position. But what I did was immediately commit to getting things going, and that was in November I was laid off at the end of October 2019. January 1st, 2020, I was ready to go. The brand, the business, the service offering. I had already done networking outreach during the holidays. Even though we had been traveling, I was on my laptop every day emailing people in my network and crushing LinkedIn to say, I'm going to launch this thing in the new year. Let me know if there's something I can do to help you, or if you know anybody that needs this kind of help. And right out of the gate, huge momentum. That was amazing. So financial preparedness comes in a lot of different forms. Yeah, you gotta, if you're financially stable and you've got a long runway and you have the luxury of just going all in and doing it, that's great. Some businesses have larger cash needs to get going. I run a service business. I just need a laptop basically and a couple pieces of software. And even they're questionable as needs. The thing we want to work through here is the dip. And the dip comes in a couple of different forms. The dip is any major transition in the business, or when you start the business, there isn't enough revenue from that particular initiative to pay for your software and your supplies and your office space if you have one, or your bills, and pay myself. There wasn't always enough money early on to pay myself, so you kind of juggling a shell game here for a little while. And all that to say, the dip is hard. It's emotional. Go back, tell your cat, tell your dog that you're going to be going through this. Tell your friends you're going to be going through it. That's critical. But most importantly, know your math. How many clients do you need to sustain the business? That's job number one, is keeping the lights on. And then paying yourself enough to be able to sustain the life that you need. You need some ramen noodles. You don't need a lot of cash, but if you want to eat steak, if you've got a family, if you've got car payments and a mortgage and a rent, you're going to have to decide what that number is. And a certain number of clients, certain number of projects, work into your pricing. You're back into pricing, right? It's not just time and number of people. It's a bigger math problem than that. But knowing the math that suits you is going to go a long way to having peace of mind. What I found I just made a major transition in the business 2 years ago when I productized and went in with a subscription. I launched a design by subscription model. I knew how many new clients I needed to get to a certain amount of revenue to be able to hire or to pay myself a certain amount or to invest in the business in different ways. And that was a big stress relief. Not knowing was super stressful. Sat down, ran the numbers. Oh, by this date, we should be in this condition as long as I'm doing the things that achieve these outcomes. So, and I've said in the past, I'm not a big goal person. Like, to me, setting a revenue goal or a number of new customers, clients, that's totally arbitrary. Would I like 10 new clients? Yeah, sure. That's great. I'm more focused on the daily tasks I need to do the things that get me on the calls that close the business to get to that 10. So I'm not concerned with 10 or 4 or whatever the number is. I'm concerned with, what do I have to do every day? This little tiny thing. And if I do that, it will do that. It will hit that number. So that's how I think about digging out of the dip, and knowing that runway and knowing that math goes a long way. And like I said at the outset, I mentioned it, former colleagues and coworkers, I remember going to lunch with a few of them, still hanging out. I love these folks, right? My problems, it quickly became clear to me that my problems and their problems are very different now. Very different. Because I don't have inter-office politics. I don't have an annual review. I'm not trying to fulfill some crappy goal that someone else gave me or my department. Like, the buck stops here. And I'm stressed about making payroll. I'm stressed about, the processes that drive great outcomes that delight customers and clients. I want them to be filled with shock and awe, interacting with the awesomeness. They should feel like they've just interacted with a bunch of awesomeness. And when you work in a corporation, I don't think that's everybody's goal all the time. So understanding the change in my problems and their problems, it just made me less likely to go to lunch and do networking with job-to-job people. I instead surrounded myself and inserted myself into communities with people who own and run businesses. And I found that there was much more alignment with the hard parts, and it became far more educational and valuable to me. So not that those other people aren't valuable. I love them to death. I've worked with some incredible people, but they can't get me to where I'm going. So that's what I mean by your friends are going to change, and who's important to you is going to change when you become an entrepreneur and you go all in and decide to go from full-time to founder. And those are the three. I almost called this episode the 3 entrepreneurial must-haves, or entrepreneur must-haves to get started. But I felt like the word entrepreneur is just so clunky. So I went with 3 strategies for transitioning to going all in, or transition to going all in. Still super clunky. This title sucks. It absolutely sucks. And that's okay. I'm cool with it. I'm not here to be perfect. I'm just here to get better. So I don't have much to say from a thumbnail perspective. I haven't thought that through. I am sleeping like shit this week, so I believe the last couple of videos reflect it. I want to put up the number 3. How's that? Seems reasonable, right? So I'm going to go 3. There's our thumbnail moment. We did it. Me and you. Right here. We did it. In this box. Crushed it. So anyway, like, subscribe, give me a follow, whatever they're calling it. I value that you sat here for 17 minutes. It's not lost on me. I'm grateful. Thank you for your time and attention. And leave a comment. I would love a couple of comments. It's been a week or 2 since I got a comment, maybe a week. And I realize those are difficult to get. And that's not my goal necessarily, but if you have questions, holla, shoot me a note. I'm happy to help. I'm here all day. So have a great weekend. I will see you Monday, 11 a.m. right back here on this channel. I appreciate you. And I guess that's like 3 versions of a goodbye. So I don't really need to belabor the point, do I? Have a good one.